Hello and welcome to a mini-series on intimacy. The reason I'm doing this is I believe we have a somewhat limited definition of intimacy, and I want to expand on that a little. So I will be breaking this down into 5 parts: sexual, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. I will do my best to isolate these, but keep in mind, in the real world, these overlap each other and at different levels. My goal from here is to use this as context in future videos, so do check them all out. So let's start with a fun one, our sexuality. Driven by our need to procreate, lust is the burning desire to have sex. It's driven by our sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, found in both men and women, and fueled by epinephrine. We feel a high with a dopamine spike to reward ourselves of our good behavior, which is the same effect on the brain as taking cocaine. We get a shot of oxytocin after a good orgasm to motivate us to do it again with the same person. When you're not with this person, serotonin fills the void to keep you thinking about your new lover. Rinse repeat this for a while and vasopressin kicks in to keep you in a relationship to conceive and raise a child long enough till the child is of age to fend for their own needs. Simple enough, right? While unfortunately it's a temporary state lasting from a couple to a few odd years. This is the change in chemistry that turns marriages into divorce, but I'll get into that in another video. But too much sexual intimacy can be a bad thing. You probably know it as a sex addiction, defined as someone with a compulsive, uncontrollable participation in sexual activities. There are many debates and causes for someone to exhibit such behaviors. 2 of the leading causes are: in the section of the brain that handles the body's reward system and survival instincts, creates a rush of dopamine, the feel-good chemical in the brain, to reward and motivate us to do the things prudent to our survival. The problem is the brain then mistakes this feeling of pleasure as being central to its survival, even if it's causing us harm. Kind of like the addiction we have with sugar. In low quantities, it's a rare resource with lots of energy, and thus our brains reward us for eating it. But with too much access to it, we become obese, and our brains don't have any way to regulate or shut it off. In sexual relationships, we're motivated to procreate and move on. Some people chase the rush of falling in love, destroying potential long-term relationships for the short-term fix of having many sexual partners. Another common cause: people that exhibit sexual addictions have been found to have a higher chance of being raised in a dysfunctional family. We have a need to feel important and cherished and accepted by others. When we grow up within a family that does not provide those important human needs, we find them in other people. Hijacking on our sexual interests and motivations, we also temporarily feel important, cherished, and accepted when we have a sexual relationship. This is a dangerous mix because when we get to the age where we can make our own decisions on sexual partners, we can essentially knock 2 birds with 1 stone. This is very risky because in a dysfunctional family, generally there's no history of healthy relationships and no skills to maintain them long term. So sex addicts bounce from partner to partner, increasing other sexually related risks such as unplanned pregnancies and STDs. So we have this powerful drive and need for sexual intimacy. It's unfortunate that for most, it's culturally taboo to talk or engage in sexual activities unless it's behind closed doors. In the past, and in many cultures today, we wait to engage in sexual activities until we get married. This kind of solves one problem in that it aids in decreasing infidelity rates, making it more likely to be known who the father of any child is. I think that's a good thing, but the way we've gone about it is a little flawed. Such practices generally are found in arranged marriages and in cultures with suppressed sexuality. Not all arranged marriages are forced, but I think that for the most of us in the Western world, we kind of want to get a little physical before we commit to the investment of procreation. After all, it's part of an elaborate dance to test the potential quality of each other's genes that we will be investing a lifetime to the raising of our genetic heritage. How can that be met in an arranged marriage when the parents are more interested in keeping classes and wealth of people in certain groups for control and power? I'll get that into another video. Another major problem: there's a huge void in sexual education. Where there's no proper education, the acts of our sexuality are guided by our hormones, and then we get into all sorts of kinds of trouble. It's like learning to drive a car. Not aware of the rules of the road, sure you can get the car across the parking lot, but it would be dangerous to drive across town on a whim and put everyone else at risk. We need to remove the shame associated with our sexual nature. Be open and educated about the subject beyond anatomy, STDs, and pregnancy scares taught in schools today. We should be comfortable when the time is right to educate our own children about their sexuality, and it should be fun. The chemistry behind our sexuality is the best known drug known to man, and we all have the capacity to tap into it. In an appropriate way, we should be able to express our sexuality at any age. We need to conceptualize an appropriate means to tap into this fountain of life, as it has numerous benefits that I'll get into in future videos. Now try to rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 4 with the people you know that fits this context. 1 being nothing, 2 needs work, 3 is satisfactory, and 4 is great. Keep this level in mind, and if you feel like the relationships you have now need some more work, look for strategies to improving it. But bear in mind that not all relationships need to hit a 4. Some will be perfectly fine being satisfactory. But through other people, you may need to hit a 4. Also keep in mind, not everyone can fulfill all forms of intimacy at a great level. We can get this through many of our closest friends and family. Thank you for taking a moment and watching this video. If you have not already, do check out the other 4 videos in this mini-series on intimacy. See you then.